Hey everyone, it's Tammy. Good morning. I decided to come out here next to the river because it's just, well, it's one of our first days without rain so far, but I understand we're going to have some rain a little bit later. But anyway, I've been doing a lot of videos recently on kindness and, a lot of thought patterns. Like I said in a video I did yesterday on the world being a reflection of us, our internal world, our external world being a reflection of our internal world. I thought I might actually address one of the other things that I frequently said is that I don't see things being wrong with the body. I see them as imbalances. And when we come at it from a right-wrong, that means that there's something to be fixed, as opposed to if we actually see something as an imbalance, we can actually restore the balance. And it doesn't make it good, bad, right, or wrong. It just makes it an imbalance. But what's even more so is, yesterday I mentioned that it was a different operating system that... and that people really are just struggling with these different operating systems. And because from one individual to another, we don't understand or recognize exactly what's going on with someone, we create interpretations, not necessarily as a malicious thing, but just we create these interpretations. So I often get asked if I think there's nothing wrong with someone, like in the case of autism or addiction or schizophrenia or any health condition, then why do I bother to treat? Well, the reason I treat it is because we see the positive symptoms. In the case of autism, we see the scripting or the stimming. It really depends on the individual, and my desire is to help that neurochemistry, because there's a way, a good way, a healthy way. Let me say it that way. There's a healthy way for the body to actually take care of itself. The body is beautifully designed to keep itself in balance and to maintain homeostasis. And so when we start to have these chemical imbalances, it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with the body. It just means that it is actually reacting to the world, is actually adapting to the world in a way to help protect that individual. So treating autism or treating addiction or cancer or any kind of health condition really requires a more personalized touch. And this is how I come at it when I start to work with people. Yes, I do work a lot with essential oils and herbs, but it's not from the cookbook approach. It is from a very personalized understanding how these things are affecting the genetics of the body, as well as paying attention to the positive symptoms that we're seeing. So like I said, in the case of autism, there is, it depends on the individual. The types of symptoms that we see can be scripting, can be stimming, can be insomnia. They tend to, as they get older, have certain health conditions because there is an impact on the immune system. So catching it as soon as we can and being able to regulate, not because there's something wrong, but actually allowing their bodies to find a sense of balance, so that they can actually integrate the type of work that they're doing. There's tremendous support systems out there for people that, whether you're in recovery or whether you're living with autism or schizophrenia or any other form of health condition, there's tremendous support. But for the body to actually integrate the work that's being done, that's where I come in. And I either teach people how to do this for themselves, or I actually create the blends and the formulas to begin to help the body to restore the balance. You see, once the mind is able, the brain produces our chemistry. It produces the neurotransmitters and the hormones. And there are particular genes that are used in the regulation of our neurotransmitters. But these neurotransmitters and hormones are used throughout the body for a number of things, more than we just think about mood and emotions and rewards and joy. It's a lot more than that. These neurotransmitters are regulating our immune system. These hormones are interacting with our immune system. there's, it's not just about whether or not you can develop muscle or have babies and have menstrual cycles. It's about being able to sleep. It's about regulating your blood sugar. This is where high blood pressure and diabetes comes in, because now we're talking about the immune system, and we're talking about insulin. We're talking about androgens. These are all hormones that are dependent upon the body being imbalanced. And when one system is out, the entire system is out. And this is the reason why we see health decline as we get older. This is the reason why we're seeing people at younger ages being born with health conditions. And this is the reason we're seeing autism and the rise of schizophrenia, these psychotic events. These are not mistakes. These are simply signs, indicators, wake-up calls. The red flags saying, "Hello, I need help." Not because I'm broken, but because I'm working. That's what I want to say. I get excited when I start talking about these things and my mind starts racing. The entire system is out of balance, and we can try to point to the factors as to what that is. I recognize the fact that one of the genetic imprints, one of the most recent genetic imprints, dates back to the early 1300s, where the immune system was significantly altered during the time of the Black Plague. And that is the last big adaptation that geneticists have been able to find through the Human Genome Project that I've heard them speak of. And in my mind, and in the way I think of things and work through things, is significant, because the degree of changes that this world has gone through through technology and our advancements with medicine and environmental chemicals. We have been, our food additives for that matter, we have been exposed to more toxins externally that would alter the way our chemistry works. And in doing so, every health condition really is an indicator that the body is actually working. I really want to emphasize that. It is the body actually functioning as to the best of its ability. This is the reason why I treat health conditions. It is not about trying to bandage symptoms. It's not about it's not about just kind of quieting and putting a bandage on things. It's really about helping the body get back to balance and find its way back to balance. Because once you're able to do that, because the body's, like I said, is beautifully wired, so we can either give it the information that it needs, or we can replace the information that it's meant to produce. If we replace the information, meaning the chemicals such as SAMe and CoQ10 and there's a whole, I've seen recent ones. There's NRF2, there's SOD catalase, we can take glutathione. All of those supplements are things that the body can actually produce. And if you can produce it, then you're better off doing it that way, because there's an entire system that's dependent upon the way these things are processed. I'll give you an example. Glutamate is a neurotransmitter. Glutamate is also used to produce glutathione as well as GABA. And GABA is another neurotransmitter. Glutamate is an excitatory transmitter that is used for a number of functions in the body, but it needs to be converted. If it doesn't get converted, it can be neurotoxic and it can cause anxiety. If it's not being converted to glutathione. Too many people are being placed on glutathione, and what's happening is the anxiety levels are going up. And yes, we might be giving our body antioxidant, but there needs to be a full systemic approach to this, as opposed to just giving the body something that it can already create. CoQ10 is another one. CoQ10 is a very important one, but at the same time, if we keep giving the body CoQ10, and I typically don't see people on CoQ10 unless they're already taking some form of heart medication, which is now depleting it. You are the best way to do that is to actually combine, if you're on medication, combine the medication, take your CoQ10 because it's important to replace what's being depleted, and at the same time support the body to actually produce it. This is what I do with autism. This is what I do with every health condition. So, it's one thing. Oftentimes, I have one little girl right now that we did put on SAM-E because she she has autism, and she was having a hard time sleeping from the very first day she was born. Never got past it. We got her to sleep, but then she started cycling through something. We couldn't quite figure it out. Well, I had a sense of what it is, but we weren't able to keep up with the body, with the body's needs. And by saying that, what I mean is that she had histamine issues. She also had cortisol issues. This is the reason why I say that these conditions differ, because not all of the kiddos that I work with are dealing with cortisol issues. People who deal with self-harm, whether it's an addictive behavior, in self-mutilation, or if you have another, I've seen it in autism as well, and other mental health conditions where people would bang their head against the wall and require helmets. There is a particular genetic complex that's involved with that, and what happens is the cortisol levels tend to go up. And sometimes it doesn't even get into be self-harm. It can be just fits of rage, screaming fits, absolute meltdowns. When I work with kids with autism and they have these meltdowns, we have to go in and work with the cortisol levels. But that said, you have to drop the cortisol load. And sometimes the load's so high that you actually have to work with the body and give it something to help reduce it. And at the same time, use it to help the body actually produce the chemistry that's necessary to actually convert the cortisol on its own. So there is a science to it, but I also refer to my business as the art of wellness, because besides the science to what I do, there is a level of creativity that goes into this, and that's the fun part for me. And so when, in this case of this young lady, when she cycled through another insomnia issue, I put her on SAM-E. I suggested that her mom put her on SAM-E so that we could help with histamine issues, help her sleep, and in the meantime supported it with very particular essential oil blends that did a couple of things. It supported the adrenals, helped drop the cortisol load, and as well as deactivate the histamine. But we had to come at it from two different levels, at least to get her to sleep, because waiting for the body to find balance sometimes is difficult. So this is the reason why I say there's a nice blend to the entire system, working with medicine and doing what I do. It has to work together, otherwise you're not benefiting the body. You don't benefit the body when all you do is treat the symptoms. And you might be benefiting your immediate symptom, but you're not really benefiting the long-term results. So that's really why I treat. This is the reason why I do what I do, because there is a scientific component to it. There is a neuroendocrine imbalance that in everyone. I am just going out on a limb there and saying it's in everyone. And being able to work with the individual body, it doesn't help us to go, well, this worked for me, so you should try it. That's actually harmful, and even though it's well-meaning, it can be potentially harmful. And I'll give you an example. This very same mother, her daughter tried the SAM-E. She slept. We got her back into a regular cycle. She's now actually off of SAM-E. She was only on it for a few days. The father decided he would try it because of the way the bottle was labeled. Said he had the best day of his life. It really, really helped him out. Well, interestingly enough, Mom decided to try it. And Mom took less than either one of them did. I think the dosage was 20 drops. She took 5 drops. And within 5 drops, she was sick to her stomach and had a migraine. So there goes to show you that her chemistry is different than her own daughter's. And so it is not a one-size-fits-all. with anything. And if I had any request of any other practitioners, is to please step away from the one size fits all. And yeah, that's my request, is that let's stop doing the one size fits all kind of thing, because one supplement is not good for everyone. Even in my own practice, like I said, I work with autism, I work with addiction, I work with schizophrenia, I work with cancer. I mean, the types of health conditions that I have in my portfolio are extensive, and even though there might be similarities in labels, nobody has received the same formula or suggestions. So we need to use caution around that, because the chemistry is different. And so that's why I get a lot of information. I request a lot of information, and then I in turn give a lot of information, because when I hear how things are kind of playing out, to make any difference. When you get the whole picture, when I hear the whole picture, whether it be through written word or through discussion, it helps me put a picture together in my head so that I can actually make the best suggestions and or make the best formulas. And at no point in time does that remain the same. Things have to change. This is the one thing that I find very interesting, and it's so hard for people to break the habit of, and that is we become so regimented. We're so used to our prescription pills, take 4 times a day, or take 1 with every meal, or it's even on our supplements. And if somebody misses something one day, I have so many clients that occasionally go, well, I forgot to take it. It's fine. You don't have to. It's not about being regimented. It's about being easy with this. So if it comes to the oils, sometimes they go, well, I miss using it, and I did. So it's not about being regimented, although I do make suggestions on how frequently to use it, just at reduction, and then from there the chemistry needs to change. And this is why there's an advantage to working with someone who can actually do the formulas for you, as opposed to going out and buying a bunch of oils that you might only use once. Because if you get it in a blend or 2 blends, you now have an elixir of approximately 4 oils, no more than that. Anything more than that is, I won't say it's detrimental to the body, it's confusing to the body. And so you don't ever want to mix more than 4 at a time, and at that point you want to use that for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then from there you want to change it. The same thing with the supplements. You don't necessarily need to be on something forever. Maca is a big one. I talk to people all the time because they like to do their superfoods, and I actually have to tell them to stop taking the maca. You only want to be on that for about 30 days at a time. So we have to understand that we have to work the body's cycles. The body, it's a chemistry experiment. Again, so there's a science to it, but we also have to be willing to be creative with this. And that is where, again, the art of wellness comes in, and why I love doing what I do, besides my photography that I play with, really adapting the chemistry to work with the individual so that the individual body can continue to adapt in a healthy manner. And this is the benefit to autism, because it allows them to go into their programs and integrate their therapy. It allows those who are recovering from addiction to potentially offset any further relapse, or actually integrate the work that they're doing in their treatment programs. If someone is living with a chronic health issue, such as cancer or diabetes or an autoimmune disorder, it allows the body to integrate the nutrients that are being consumed while working, so that the medication actually works. So it actually allows for the integration of the medication. So this is the beauty of why I treat and why I insist that people actually start personalizing the work that they're doing with essential oils, and stop looking at a book and listening to somebody say this oil is good for all of these reasons. It may not be. I've seen it actually happen. Even, I gave the example of Sam E. I've seen it happen with orange oil, essential oil. There's several different types of orange essential oil. There's several different types of thyme essential oil, eucalyptus, rosemary. Not all of them are meant for the same thing, and some of them can be toxic to the body. Some of them actually produce, they deregulate. They create imbalances the other way. They affect our serotonin and our dopamine levels. So that's the reason it's really important to get the full picture, the full scope, if you will, of a person's well-being. Because if you actually hear how they manage their day, how they go about their day, how they feel throughout their day, then they will actually give you the information that's necessary for making the best suggestions. So there again, there's no one size fits all. That includes, like I said, supplements, herbs, essential oils. This is the reasons why we get into things and sometimes they don't work. So you really want to, number one, pay attention to the body. Number two, work with somebody who can actually hear something, who's not emotionally attached to how this is going to go, who can actually be objective and be able to provide the clearest directive for you to go, and be willing to change because your body's changing, and that goes with our kids. And sometimes it changes like that. I have some parents who contact me, a couple of times a month because their kiddos are changing, and we actually have to adapt the way we integrate the oils into the day. So it sounds like a lot of work, but once you get the routine down and you know that you got someone there that's willing to help you out and walk you through this, it becomes a very easy process. So that is the art of wellness, and this is the reason why I work and treat with the body, because there really isn't anything wrong. It's just the body going, hey, I'm doing the best I can here. I'm working for you, but I need you to work for me. Anyway, I hope you have a beautiful day. This is astounding out here. I understand we're due to have some thunderstorms, and I see the clouds beginning to kind of gather around. So until later, have an absolutely blessed afternoon. Bye, everybody.